Welcome to Rauta and Underground Trio episode, and once again we have three different releases from three different parts of the world, and all these are obviously freebies from the respective labels and bands. First, quick look through alphabetical order, through the bands in alphabetical order that is, and then from worst to best according to my own opinion, feel free to disagree. First, Ukraine and partially from Finland, Celestial Silence with Silent Cause from the other side, not the most imaginative name for the label, not label, album or band in general, but it is what it is. Then we have Shadecrown with an album called Zero, probably the most boring name I've ever heard for an album. This is from Finland, and then a split tape which features a solo project from Finland as well as something from United States, Void of Melancholy and Taithur on a tape called here you see a few words about misery. Sounds very gothic. Now, I might be a little bit negative today because none of these releases really made a big impact on me. First of all, there are a couple of things that sound very demo-ish. Then there's something that is pretty much taking its first steps and kind of hits partially the right buttons, but also a little bit hit and miss. And then something that is, done with proper production and all, but music-wise, kind of a mediocrity boring. So, none of these are exactly recommended by yours truly, but let's get it done. So first we'll head to Finland with Shadecrown and their fourth album, Zero. This is a band that has been around for more than 10 years now, and on Metal Archive site this is labeled as Melodic Doom Death. Now I don't really agree with the Doom part here, but I get why this is getting that kind of a genre title. Technically speaking, this is melodic death metal or just melodic metal. And the doom parts are not really the thing here. First of all, they're way too aggressive or fast, mid-tempo and all after all, for a doom band. And secondly, none of these ideas really sound like what I would call doomish or even death doom. Especially if you're thinking about the early names like My Dying Bride, Anathema, Paradise Lost, or bands like Winter. So whatever happened in the early 90s with their death doom respectively has very, very little to do with that. But what this really reminds me of is something very, very Finnish, and especially bands like Omnium Gatherum and Insomnium. First of all, the vocals are the thing that really put this more on the map of death metal. You have that deep, growly vocals, which is actually very good, but it's almost like it's too brutal for this kind of music, because this is very, very melodic, and it's very kind of a melancholic, and it's almost like gothic. When you're doing your bingo card, like, okay, check this, mark this down, you have all it takes. Growly vocals, check. You have some kind of a raspy black metal-like vocals, check. You have a little bit of clean female vocals, check. You have some violins, check. Obviously, you do have lots of those melodic, melancholic parts. And then you have those very sweet keyboard parts. And when I say sweet, I really mean like they're so sugar-coated that makes your just teeth pop out from your mouth. It's so theatric that I get this very Disney-like feeling, like, what if Disney decided to do melodic, doomy, gothic, death metal kind of a thing? Now they will just cross out the death metal, because death really isn't, it's death, people or something is dying. Well, Lion King has death, so there's that. But apart from that, I get this kind of a the kind of a sweet tooth kind of a thing. I'm thinking of Disney animated movies, whether it's about like Bambi or, Frozen or whatever. I get it very, very Disney-like thing. Production-wise, this album is nailing it. They do have very good production, apart from one thing that kind of bothers me throughout the whole listening experience, and it's this kind of a snare sound, which is on top of everything, and it goes like, not like, like your typical death metal drumming or thrash, black, whatever. It's kind of like this splat kind of a sound, which is like kind of borderline annoying. Obviously you get used to it after a while, but whenever I start the album again, I'm like, oh, this annoys me. It's not a big deal, but kind of a small flaw enough to be mentioned here. Music-wise, this is very mediocre stuff in the given game. If you start comparing it to Insomnium, Omnium Gathering, and whatever melodic death metal bands or mellow metal bands you start thinking about it, it sounds so Finnish, but also like, okay, there are lots of bands which are actually doing it, better. This sounds maybe heavy and all, but it's too much this Disney-fied effect coming into play. So music-wise, I consider it very, very mediocre. But, maybe for given fans, if you're a romantic heart going bam, 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 maybe that's a thing. All right, let's move on. This time, it's the second place is taken by this split tape. I think I originally got this from United States, where Shadecrown is very new, very 2025 release. This one is older. I don't even remember anymore when this was released because it was already old on arrival. Anyway, this was more like getting as a bonus item with some other CDs I've already reviewed. So there it is. Very stripped down, very basic 2-song split, about 12-13 minutes give or take. Void of Melancholy coming from Finland. Very Burzum-like thing, but different. Kind of a decent black metal, but very demo-ish. And then Taithur, which is even more demo-ish with its respective songs. Both are showcasing something like atmospheric black metal, but rather rawish output, meaning that this is not exactly, let's go to a real studio and get the mixing, mastering, everything done, price some Brokai, but let's do that, by ourselves with our home computers and all. And while nothing really sucks in this, I mean, it could be a lot better. So this is more like very, very demo level stuff. And while both of these bands have potential, they're not really making the wow moment. For that, they're like 35 years late. But both are somewhat interesting and definitely worth giving a shot. But this only features one track by each band, so not too much to talk about. If you like your atmospheric black metal and you don't mind the raw end of production, give it a go. The best of the pile goes to Ukraine. However, this one is with Finnish vocalist. So as far as I could figure out, this is like 2 guys from Ukraine and the vocalist coming from Finland. Glossy Digipack by Zazen Records, pretty nicely looking one. And they are also session musician. I wouldn't probably, paid no attention to that, but I was taking the links for you, dear audience, so that you can check it out, online and all. And then I noticed there is this female bass player, and I was like, but there are 3 guys. And then I went for the session musician and noticed that this session bass player is from another Ukrainian band. So session member it is, it seems. I don't know if the lineup has changed ever since. But no, at least this mentions just like 3 main people here. And then there are these guests, like, for example, Kate Bass is taking care of bass and, well, double bass. And there are violins, keyboards, also whatever. So music-wise, this is a little bit rough sounding atmospheric black metal. Mostly mid-tempo, but there's faster parts included. And it's very, very autumn-like. Like a colleague of mine, a reviewer, mentioned, this is very, very fitting for this coming season. I mean, it's kind of rainy and it's kind of dark. It's very gray. Everything is a little bit bleak and all that stuff. It's not super sinister. It's not like super evil. It's definitely not like, let's do a winter album where everybody dies. This is more like the Twilight years. So things are a little bit melancholic, but, there is some kind of an edge still with these things. And, I like some of the melodies they have been putting out, but it's a little bit work in progress in my opinion. Like I said, I'm a little bit negative Joe here today with these respective releases, but it's more like pointing out that this kind of stuff has been done a million times again and again and again, and most of them are, if not better, at least doing the same style or quality. But they do have some potential here. I'm not going to deny that. Like I said, some of the melodies are really nice, and maybe with better production, it would have more impact. Then there are these vocals which are a little bit unusual for black metal. They're more like kind of a reverbed and a little bit somewhere like outside, like it's like screams coming from afar. And they are probably that some people are going to like them, and some people are like, they're too weird, too unusual for this given style. But a lot of potential with this, and since this is the first release so far, who knows to which heights this band can later on go. What I got from Metal Archives is that it seems more like a side project, to the main bands. I don't know what's the story really, but because the other bands are, it seems, more active, more experienced and all, this might be a little bit overshadowed by them. But who knows? Maybe Celestial Silence, not a very good name for a band, by the way, will grow into some heights and make a real impact. It's worth listening to, for sure, being the best of the pile and all, so give it a go, or up to you. Links are included, of course, in the description box, so if I got you interested in some of these releases, do your thing and give them a listen, and let me know in the comment section if you like them or not. Now off you go, more review videos coming your way. Take care.